Welcome to another episode of Business Insights on SWAT 999 FM with Wendy and Mario. Before I announce our guest, as a tradition says, we need to say who is with us in the studio. I'd like to say, firstly, thank you to all our listeners on SWAT 999 FM, everybody who is driving home. Please be safe and tune in and listen to the best business radio talk show on the planet with Wendy and Mario. Wendy, I missed you last week.
We're back.
We are back. Mm-hmm. Did you got your medical certificate?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's okay. It's time because we are limited with the time, and tonight we have a very, very exceptional person in the studio. I'm going to introduce him. Our guest today is an Australian champion athlete. He has led a team of more than 17,000 cabin crew and has served as a consultant to more than 3,500 business people globally. Today, he will be sharing with us his practical and easy-to-apply ideas on how to build, manage, and grow a multi-million-dollar business. Please welcome my good friend, mentor, Daniel Tolson.
Mario, good evening. Wendy, good evening.
Hi. Great to have you here. Great to meet you again.
Again, breakfast yesterday.
Breakfast yesterday, I know.
I can't even get the lunch, the breakfast. I like it.
Yes. Look, I'm excited, and you told people that they can follow Daniel as well on our Instagram and on our LinkedIn and on our social media, on our Facebook. You can pretty much just Google Daniel Tolson because he's definitely got a lot of influence in sales and in business and in coaching and in social media.
And I'll later help him with his fashion style, so you can see he's actually he looks good as well.
Looking very smart.
Very good. But I'll leave to my partner in Crime Radio, Wendy, to talk to you, Daniel.
Yes. So Daniel, tell us a little bit about your business. I mean, so on this show, if obviously I didn't get much chance to talk to you about this, but on this show, what we aim to do is basically empower people that are in business, people that are in business and can pick up something from the show. We love to share, and we love to share people that have had success in business or that can shine some light and say, hey, you might like to try this. But also we like to find out about the people that are coming to our show and what their business journey has been. So do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about
basically from the day one on the earth.
from day one. Well, I was a winner since day one because I was the sperm that got the egg.
Okay, that's very encouraging, yes.
So I knew that I was special already. And my journey began at a very young age, just like everybody else. And I started to go to school, and I didn't have any advantages at school. And I would look at the board and I'd write something on my paper, and it never matched up. So the teachers started to realise this kid's a little bit special, but it wasn't special in a good way. And they started to call my mum, can you come and explain why your son can't get the information off the board onto the paper?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm in remedial therapy, and they realise I've got a lot of learning disabilities. And what I've learned now is that those years in school, although it was hard, have been my greatest asset because I had to think laterally. I couldn't think lineal. So I think laterally. Mm-hmm. So once I got into sales, I could see opportunities to make sales where other people couldn't. Today I go into businesses and I can show them how to make and save millions of dollars where other people can't. So the challenges of going through a learning disability have become my greatest asset. And one of the things that I don't mention to a lot of people is that I'm a master hypnotherapist.
Yeah,
oh my
got to be a master hypnotherapist.
You did not warn me.
He got something. But you had the breakfast yesterday with Daniel.
That's why.
And that's what you need. You need to think laterally. So these things have just grown over the years, and I've learned new skills to be able to harness those talents.
Interesting. That's an interesting story, Daniel. Yeah.
So Daniel, one of the things that I think that you can maybe shed some light on is why are some businesses more successful than others?
That's a very interesting question. Why they are?
It's a good question. And for 6,000 years, people have been studying why some people are more successful than others. They've also had a look at why are some empires more successful than others. And today we ask the question, why are some businesses more successful than others? And we've found the answer, and it's high sales. The most successful businesses have the highest sales, but the businesses that fail have low sales. So business success comes down to your ability to understand your customer and be able to provide them with an excellent product and service. And if you have an excellent product and service targeted to the right person, you'll have high sales and you'll succeed. One of the other things we've learned that with businesses is that the most successful businesses spend 80% of their time on sales activities, where the ones that fail spend as little as 11%. And this is what makes some businesses more successful than others. There's a company I work with in Melbourne, and they're called Ray White Real Estate. And about 18 months ago, they had 1% market share, and they were struggling for business. So what they did, they changed their business model and used 80% of their time to attract and keep new customers. Within 18 months, they had increased their market share to 9.4%.
That's huge, right?
And for the director, that was a 250% increase in his sales. And what makes some businesses more successful than others? It's high sales. And today, they are the number one CEOs in Victoria for Ray White. And so they've discovered what the secret of success is, and it's high sales.
And you helped them to achieve the goal.
I did.
That is very interesting. So we often dream, I know that Wendy, she has different questions for you than I do, but people often dream to become millionaires and to be successful. You explained very nicely, you answered this question, why some is successful, why some they are not. But I have different question. What takes to be the person to be successful? Well, I know this extraordinary question. I drop the bombs, here, and then she's click her hair. But what's the person needs to be prepared to be successful?
We'll simplify it to two things.
Yeah.
One is you need to know exactly what you want. You have to have clarity about your goal and where you're going.
Okay.
Secondly, you have to determine the price that you're willing to pay to achieve that goal. And what I ask my clients is, are you willing to walk over broken glass to achieve that? Are you willing to leave your comfort zone? Are you willing to reinvent yourself? And if you're clear on what you want, and if you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there, you'll become incredibly successful. I have a client here in Sydney, and she had to totally reinvent herself. She had to learn how to sell. She had to learn how to market. She had to change her personal brand. She had to live life as a single woman raising two children. And for the past 4 years, she has increased her profitability in her business by 50% year after year after year. And she totally reinvented herself. So if you decide what you want and you are willing to do whatever it takes, nothing will stop you from achieving what you want.
That's very interesting.
We have to be willing to pay the price.
The price. Shall we take the price now? Take the short break, and
take a break with the price.
Off the air. Daniel, and ask you what the price is. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening SWAT 9 FM Business Insights with Wendy and Mario. Our guest Daniel Tolson is gonna continue answering questions we prepare for him, and I will take a short break. And this is like a climbing the mountain in US called Yosemite.
Yes, Yosemite.
Yosemite, yes.
Yeah.
This is like the show, like Vegemite Yosemite. We are live, Wendy.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm having too
okay.
much fun with
Too much laughter.
Yeah, we have lots in common.
You tried to say that Daniel shared with you the secret of the price, or price of the secret. That's what you're saying?
No,
or?
the price that you have to pay. That everyone's price is different, I feel. Is that right?
It is, and it depends on what you want. And as long as you're clear on what you want, that's success. Success is not just financial. It's not just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. So you've got to determine what it is that you want. And success is determined by you. It's not determined by the latest motor vehicle or the golden watch or the big rock. That's not success. Success is what you determine to be. And we have a lot of things in common. We want health and fitness. If you achieve your ideal body weight and you're happy with your self-image, that's success. And there's three things that happen. When you set a goal, your brain releases a chemical in your body called dopamine. And what happens is you want to go after your goal.
You're dope. Yeah.
Once you start to move towards that goal, you get adrenaline because you get your challenges and you've got to overcome obstacles. And then once you overcome those obstacles, it doesn't matter if it's a small obstacle or a big one, your brain releases serotonin. And what happens, this is nature's happy drug. And this is success. When you set a goal, you move towards it and you achieve it, you get a chemical, you get a flood of free drugs in your body and you're on a natural high. And that's success. And if you have that, anxiety disappears. Depression disappears because you're always having a win and your body knows how to make you feel good. So set a goal, move towards it and feel good. That's success. Simple.
It does sound simple, doesn't it?
I'm starting getting injection for testosterone because I'm a senior citizen now, so like I'm past it that time.
Senior citizen, I love it.
No, I saw the other day commercial, right? And it says like, for the senior citizens, everybody who's 50 years plus, right? You know what I mean? And I was shocked. It's like, that's 3 years less, you know what I mean? Like I'm soon I'm gonna follow up that in that commercial. But Daniel, thank you for sharing this with us because most of the people, they don't understand what success it is, you know what I mean? And, I don't say I know, but that was a very insightful. So.
Well, I think it is different for everyone, but I guess putting it in terms of business, a lot of business owners, don't focus on the sales that you were talking about, and I think that if a successful business, as you said, has got high sales, and then that they focus on 80% of the focus is on sales rather than a business that's failing where they might only focus on 11%.
Yeah.
I think that there in itself there's a goal, isn't there? Like for our listeners, if you're listening and if you're in business or if you're starting a business, what is it that you're focusing on? I mean, are you hoping for sales to come by themselves?
A very simple strategy, and everybody can apply it, and it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, is if you just double the amount of time that you spend face-to-face with customers, you'll double your sales. So since 1920...
Sorry, Daniel, do you mind repeat that back? Sorry, if you spend time... Sorry, what did you say?
If you double the amount of face-to-face time you have with your clients, you'll automatically double your sales. So since 1929, they've researched salespeople. And since 1929, the average has remained the same, that the average salesperson speaks to their customers face-to-face for 90 minutes per day.
That was 1920s.
That's since 1929.
Today we have the Tinder for this. No, I mean,
swipe left, swipe right. Not that I know.
Yeah, no,
my wife told me. That's how she found me.
Ask for friend. So if you spend time with the customer, it's automatically sales double.
No. If you double the time that you're spending with your clients, then you will double your sales.
So if you spend 90 minutes a day and you make 2 sales, but you manage your time more effectively and you spend 180 minutes in front of your customer, you'll make twice as many sales. That's how simple it is.
Well, it's because,
No way. Seriously?
Well, they'd rather talk to you than get an email from you, They'd rather talk to you. Would that be the reason? Because you're building a relationship with them, because you're talking to them about your products, services, helping them?
If you speak to 10 people and make 5 sales, and that takes you 90 minutes, if you speak to 20 people in 180 minutes, you'll make 10 sales.
It's a numbers game, right?
That's how simple it is. If you want to double your sales, you just have to spend twice as much time in front of your clients. Then there's other strategies on how to increase your sales ratios, improve your closing rates. There's many strategies, but time is the most important one. Imagine that, 1929, 90 minutes a day. What are you doing for the rest of the day?
I read this book. I don't know if you've read it before. Oh, you might have heard of it. Don't ask me what the author's name is, but the name of it was very simple. Know exactly what to say. Have you ever read that book? I'll have to look up who the author is. Exactly what to say in order to close sales.
That's an interesting one, but I wanted about time because, when did she ask you earlier our price to pay to be successful? If you when you agree both, spend 90 minutes with the customer, which is double time, let's say 45 minutes, that's a very, very long day. Do you agree with me? Because that's not a 9-to-5 job anymore. That's a, consistent every day, delivering 90 minutes, with your clients. So that's actually extending hours, after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't take...
Isn't that the price?
It doesn't take any extra time.
No.
About 42% of time in the workplace is wasted on gossip every day. And if you have a look at all the studies, 80% of people's time every single day is wasted. The average salesperson doesn't 80%. Make... Get this. This is the statistics, and I study this. The average salesperson makes their very first sales call at 11 a.m. What were they doing between 9 and 11?
Well, they prepared
Going to the bathroom, having a coffee, reading the newspapers, gossiping, swiping left, swiping right. And then what happens is they go to lunch and then they say in their mind, I shouldn't ring anybody because everybody is digesting their lunch. I'll wait till 3 o'clock. They make one sales call at 3 and then they try to get home by 5. So it doesn't take you any longer. It just means you've got to manage your time more effectively.
I think it's a lot more than that. I think that, unless you've been trained to be rejection-proof, it's about getting rid of that procrastination for a lot of people.
Well, procrastination comes down to emotional intelligence.
Love it.
So there's 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness. You have to know your strengths and you have to know your weaknesses. The second pillar is self-regulation, and this is the ability to manage your mental and emotional blockages. So what causes procrastination is a thought. And if you can't control that thought, you can't control the feeling. The third pillar of emotional intelligence is motivation, and it's having the motivation to keep going when you've got rejection. And that's what Mario and I are talking about here is what price are you willing to pay? Are you prepared to do what it is painful?
I was told just being on Instagram you become an influencer. You're listening to Sva 999 FM. We take a short break. Wendy and Mario with our guest, Daniel Tolson, who's going to answer more and more questions.
Yes.
Any questions?
Oh, there's plenty to come.
Okay.
And they've got to tune in.
We're still climbing Yosemite. Welcome back to the studio, Sva 999 FM. Business Insights with Wendy and Mario. Now, guest in studio, Daniel Tolson. I just want to say that personally, on behalf of the Business Insights with Wendy and Mario, everybody who listened to us tonight, you can tune in on our social media and you can ask Daniel Tolson his some questions later on after the show. Now, do we continue, Daniel? So I was reading your biography and I saw you weighing over 250 kilos at one point of your life. Is that true? How did you lose the weight? I'm just joking. So tell us.
Who took the photo?
Yeah, who took the photo? The question I do have, it's in your biography it says 17,000 air crew, right? So what was the airline you used to be working?
Well, the airline I worked with was Emirates Airline in Dubai.
That's an elite of elite, yeah.
The best of the best.
They have the good meal, eh? And they have a good dessert at the end
They
as well.
have cutlery.
They have a cutlery, yes, they do. There is no like
the little things.
They do have chopsticks on the flight to Japan.
There you go.
Even better. You can eat sushi.
Is that where I've seen you? No, you just look so familiar.
I did arrest a woman on the aircraft once.
Yeah? Oh, my God.
We departed out of Dubai and she snuck a bottle of vodka onto the aircraft and she drank 3/4 of the bottle.
Oh my
and then she started to mix it with other medications and I had to restrain her manually with my hands for 7 hours.
Okay, that's a boring story. I have a better question for you.
But she did beat me up.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness.
The question I do have before we come, we are a little bit more relaxed tonight. Did you notice my speech has been changed? No? Yes, yeah.
You come across very charming.
I know, very charming. You don't know what I know. I do have the question, how person who comes on an airline, let's just say Emirates, he can tell us no secret, and I say, I don't want to be in the cattle class, I want to be first class. What I need to say to the lady on the counter, is there any tricks there, or you just say like, I don't know, my heart, it doesn't work very well and I need to lie down. It doesn't work that way,
It doesn't work like that. What you got to be is you've got to be an opportunist.
Ah, okay.
So what our clients would do, they'd sneak up through the curtains from economy to business class. They would jump into a business class seat. They'd recline it and quickly put a blanket over their head and hide under the blanket.
No way.
And they could be in business class for 3, 4, 5 hours and the crew wouldn't even notice.
Jeez, man.
But if you ask, you get denied.
What was the most challenging to work in airlines and being 30, 40,000 feet in the air? What was the most challenging for you and all people you managed? That's time away from home, family, time zones, I don't know, deep vein thrombosis, food. Tell me. Share with our listeners.
I would say probably the toughest thing for cabin crew, especially living in Dubai, is you've had to leave your home. I had to leave my home country. And almost every single flight that you go on, you don't know anybody. So every day you go to work with 17 new people. You have 400 plus new customers. So you don't know anybody.
So how did
So
you
you're
manage
always
to...
at your comfort zone.
How did you manage all these 17,000 people to talk to each other, to be friendly to each other? A part of, it's a good... There's a positive, you can be a friend on the Facebook straight away, so that's good.
I don't know if we even had Facebook at that stage.
Okay, that's...
What happens is you
Yeah.
walk into a room
Yeah.
and it's a comfort zone challenge. So immediately you have to become very good at making friends. So you do that and you got to talk. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to talk to people. You got to introduce yourself. You got to ask questions about other people. And you have to really do comfort zone challenges.
I do have the one question outside of the box now, and it's relating to me. And no, truly it is me, because my English become better every day. But, the question I do have, Emirates employs different nationalities. That's the flag. You know what I mean?
136 nationalities.
Yeah, when they they're announcing flight, they say like we have on an airplane today 16 different language speaking people, background, whatever they call them. Is a challenge or is an advantage to people have an accent to different me speaking English like myself, or this was a challenge for you, or it was good for them?
It's exotic.
Oh, thank you. I'm exotic now.
It's incredibly exotic. And what you do is you learn about people's languages. So you ask them, where are you from? Where you were born? What language do you speak? And you start to learn. It's very exotic.
Okay,
My
that's
wife's
fine.
Taiwanese, that was exotic.
Yep.
But she wouldn't talk to me. That's another story.
Well, that does come right to that one. So, Ben, do you have any other relaxing questions? Or?
Well, no, we don't have relaxing questions. We have serious business here. We are sharing some gems, and I was before the break we were talking about what businesses can do to increase their sales, and I think you shared quite a bit. Did you want to add anything to that before we is there anything else that obviously other than spending more time, what can they do to or increase their revenue? What is it that what businesses can do?
There's a principle called the Pareto principle, and it's called the 80-20 rule. And what's happening with businesses today is they have too many products in their product lines. But when you have a look through these product lines, what you'll find is that 20% of your products and services generate 80% of your revenues. And 80% of those products and services only generate 20% of the revenues. So what I recommend to my business clients is to eliminate those products that don't sit in the 20% that produce 80% of your revenues. And then with your time, because time is so important in business, is that you spend more of your time working on that 20% that brings in 80% of your revenues. And that can turn around a business in 6 to 7 days just by focusing on what's important. And a great example was I had a product and service that I was selling for $100, and it took me as long to sell a $100 service as it did for a $1,000 service. So I stopped selling the $100 service and I sold more $1,000 items straight away. And that's probably one of the best things that all business people can do.
And sometimes it's not that obvious, is it? Sometimes because I think that, you have to be on top of your numbers, and then to actually analyse it, sit down and have a look at your business a lot closer in order to work out where is it that my higher margins are and where is it that it takes me a lot less to produce that.
I'll give you the perfect story. My brother and I, we owned a clothing company, and because we were born and bred in the western suburbs, it was called Liquid Militia. And we had 5 types of T-shirts.
That's a good name. That's also
a very good name, Liquid Militia. Very popular. And we had 5 different coloured shirts, and would take these 5 different coloured shirts to Queensland, and they only wanted one colour, which was black. So I came back to Sydney. I said to my brother, we can make a lot of money in Queensland if we just offer them one colour shirt. And he said, what colour? I said, black. They don't want pink, they don't want blue, they don't want white, they don't want grey, they want black. So we eliminated the colours, and our sales through the roof. And that's an example of that 80-20 principle. And if you do that into your business and you study what sells and what doesn't sell, you can make more sales. But the problem is that we get married to our products. We think our products and services are so magical, and the person who loves the product the most keeps the product. So if you love it more than your clients, you keep it.
So statistically, you need to go look the numbers, what actually goes well, and stick with that one.
Absolutely.
So what's the story with this, recently I'm listening, recently last maybe 2 years, everybody loves to use that word innovation. We are innovative company. We are innovation. We are leaders. It's like I have a goosebumps straight away. Like, you know what I mean? what would you suggest to somebody? So like, no, sorry, I apologize, I come back. You will suggest to any business, say like, okay, check your numbers, see what you're selling best in. I mean, take it and push this because you're making the sales, correct? Instead of spending time and energy and money and effort on a product you believe emotionally that you're good, but doesn't make a sales. Did I understand correctly, Daniel? Or?
Look, a lot of people are talking about innovation, but we were talking about this in the drive to Sydney yesterday. Your body temperature is set to about 37.5 degrees.
Correct.
If your body temperature goes up 10%, you go into a hyperprexic state. If it drops by 10%, you go into a hypothermic state. The body can die. When it comes to innovation, people are trying to bring in these technologies and ideas that are so far outside of people's comfort zones that they can't even comprehend what it is. And I have studied.
Statement. Give us more.
I have studied marketing and sales psychology, and innovation should always be within 10%. And if you're driving, don't write this down. Write it down when you get home. Is that your product only has to be 10% better, cheaper, easier, or faster than somebody else's product or service to be innovative. 10%.
Okay, I have another question before we take a break because you're talking too much now and it's becoming interesting. And you're sharing your information with too many people now.
Can we get it back?
No, we can't. Everybody. No, I'm very grateful that you're sharing those insights, Daniel, because in my experience, I've met many business coaches, sales coaches, but I truly never have the pleasure listening fact-supported statements, But now, if somebody wants, to learn how to sell, you are the writer as well, right?
Absolutely.
And you wrote some books about this.
Absolutely. Did you know that I was in porn for 17 years? My dad was in porn. My mum was in porn. And we owned a pawnbrokers in Windsor.
Sorry, what did you say? We'll take a short break because this is taken now outside of my conversation.
He's really sharing everything he's got.
Well, listen, we're going to take a short break, right? Okay. We talk about after the break about porn, right? Or something like that.
100%.
100%. Welcome back to the studio, SWAT Triple 9 FM Business Insights with Wendy and Mario. Our guest tonight in the studio is Daniel Tolson. Very, very, very unique person and human. And I'm truly privileged knowing him. And together with my partner in crime on the radio, Wendy, we are quizzing him, teasing him, and we try to extract as much as possible information for free for you, all of you guys. So, please appreciate our effort. Try to get more information for all of you. We're asking for the friends, of course. But you mentioned something about Boogie Nights pawn shop or something. Can you elaborate that for more?
Yeah, you just dropped a bomb right before the break.
Yeah, so I'm getting questions can you that just please spell that pawn? What did you say? Climbing Yosemite? What was that?
Pawn.
Sorry,
I'll pronounce it.
Please.
Pawn.
Ah, okay, sorry. I told you, Wendy. I told you.
Spelling was never my good thing. Pawn.
So tell me a little bit, leading into that question, tell me a little bit about it.
My mum owned businesses in St Mary's. She owned them in Penrith. And my dad was also a concreter. And we grew up in Cranebrook. And my mum wanted to do something new. And one of my uncles, we used to call him Uncle Wacky. He lived up in Bathurst. He was an ex-police officer. And he started what was called the Bathurst Curiosity Shop. And it was a pawnbroking business. Oh. And he suggested to my mum that if you want to start a business, why don't you start a pawn shop? And so we did.
Can we just say there's just a shop, please? Because I'm just, your mum, that pawn shop, you
don't want my mum and pawn in the same sentence. Is that what you're saying? My brother and I made videos as well. But that was for Liquor Militia. So, at the pawn shop, we were there for 17 years.
Wow.
And people would walk down the street and they'd walk into the shop and they'd say, "How long have you been here for?" And we'd say, "We've been here for 11 years. Now, what we know about sales and business is about 80 to 90% of the people in the area that you own your business in, they don't even know you exist.
Why is that there?
It's because of the law of visibility. People can't see you. And it's like on social media today. If you're not on there, you don't exist. So we were racking our brains. How do we get more customers? How do we get more customers now?
Before the social media age.
Before the social media age. And we were so upset. And you know this. You've got a great service, you've got a great product, and not enough people are buying it. You get frustrated. So one day we said, you know what? Let's paint the front of our shop in orange neon paint, and we painted it orange, and we put these big black stickers on the window, and it said instant cash loans, and an arrow pointing in. On the other window, we said pawn broker, and an arrow. And all of a sudden, people started walking in, and they were walking in, and our sales went up, 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 up.
Visibility.
Immediately, because we had visibility. And this is like in your business. You've got to get people visible, Wendy. And that's why they come to you. If people can't see you, you don't exist. So the point is, you have to be visible. If you're a coach, if you're a consultant, people have to see you.
Do you mind asking one question? It's not related to the business, like a business, right? Because, we talk about it's a new age. They group it as like a millennial, Y generation, baby boomers, all these things. But social media, it is big. It's huge. You know what I mean? It's a massive. But there is, from my opinion, I can see a lot of wannabes, those influencers, right? And try to be visible to portray that they can sell something. How do you see those people who, good-looking people like myself, with
very handsome, very charming.
Yeah, I'm charming. What do you think about those stuff on social media sales? The people, individuals, just because of the look. Try to become visible to get a business. Does this work or?
It doesn't work. We know that if you write something, if you're a writer, for every word that you put on paper, you have to know 10 words for every word that you put on paper. And if somebody reads your material and they look through it, they'll say, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. If you don't know 10 words for every one word that you write, they know that you don't know your stuff. But when it comes to visual things, and when it comes to video and radio, you have to know 100 words for every one word that comes out of your mouth. And if you don't know 100 words for every one that comes out of your mouth, they know that you're not an expert on your topic. So social media actually crucifies people faster.
If you don't know your stuff.
So you've got to know your stuff. You've got to be an expert in your field, and people want to work with experts. So imagine going to a brain surgeon saying, hey, I've done it a couple of times in my backyard, let me operate on your son. Hell no. You want the best, don't you?
Yeah.
And so you've got to study your craft. You have to know your topic. You have to read everything. What I've learned about the psychology of sales success and business success, and why some businesses are more successful than others, is that the most successful people know their product better than anybody else. See, our rate of change on the planet is so fast at the moment that our knowledge becomes redundant by 50% every 2.5 years.
Makes
so
sense.
If you're not constantly reading, if you're not constantly updated with what's happening in your market, everybody will know that you're not up to date. And so this is critical in today.
That is critical. That it is
very critical.
I think a lot of businesses, there's a lot out there in the media that, says where our economy is going to. And a lot of people are thinking, well, I just need to create more customers. I just need more customers, like you were saying before. How do we increase the visibility? What, basically, you said getting people through the door is vital, whichever way you need to find the way to advertise best and where your customers are at that they're going to see you. So we now know how can we increase sales. We know how we need to get people through the door. But do a lot of people know what cost of goods sold is and how they can do you think a lot of businesses are even thinking of those things other than these days, or they're focusing on where they need to be focusing?
We'll call it cost of goods sold, but it's really the bottom line, and you've got to focus on the bottom line consistently. And in the most recent studies, we've learned that if you hire the wrong person in your business, that hiring mistake will cost you 3 to 5 times that person's annual salary. So if you're paying somebody $100,000 and you get it wrong, that could cost you between $300,000 and $500,000 in lost sales, lost productivity, interruptions to workflow, damage to your culture, damage to your brand. So to reduce your cost of goods sold, what you have to do is you have to become very good at hiring the right people. And this is an area where I specialise in, and I've been able to reduce the risk of a bad hire for my clients by up to 93%. A recent client, we were able to bring in a new employee, and they've already made and saved $2 million inside of 120 days.
Wow.
And that's how you quickly reduce the cost of goods sold.
it's vital for a small business, for any business, but for a small business, it's critical to get that person right, that new employee. That I just couldn't agree with you more. I think that you know it when you've got the wrong person in the job, and how do you stop that when you've gone too far?
My dad had to fire somebody once, and he laid in bed for a week sick because he couldn't bring himself around to firing that person. But in all of my studies and working with thousands of people around the world, is that only 1/3 of the people that you hire are going to be top performers. 1/3 of people are going to be average performers, and 1/3 are going to be low performers. So you have to be very good at hiring, and you've got to make sure that you hire talent. Think of that, 3 to 5 times the annual salary will be the hiring mistake. So if you've got a turnover of about 60% of people in your business every year, and you keep hiring the wrong people, this can be the reason why you're making no money, because you keep bringing in these people. You've got to train them. You've got to recruit them. Productivity slows down. Sales stop.
Yeah.
And you keep doing that. So when you learn to attract and keep good people, the cost of goods sold lower and your profits rapidly increase. We talked about Emirates Airline before. Emirates Airline, when they hired a new cabin crew member, it took them 2 years to get that person profitable. But the average contract length was 3 years. So if somebody joined the company and they only stuck around for 6 months, imagine the cost of the business. And they had 17,000 crew. And small business operators can't afford to make one hiring mistake. And this is where I help my clients to avoid those mistakes. And at the end of the day, if you make a hiring mistake, it comes out of your children's pocket. That money doesn't go into their pocket. It comes out of their education fund. It comes out of their first car. All of these things, it comes out of that dream wedding. So you've got to get it right.
Yeah, it's a huge thing for businesses to focus on. And I mean, when you talk about cost of goods sold, the bad hiring decision, is it? Do you think that a lot of people, when they go to hire somebody, that they hire on what they see on the day, rather than, so what can they do in order to make the right decision hiring that person? Get Mario.
They hire to solve a problem. That's the first problem. They hire to solve a problem. I need a salesperson. You're in sales. Come and join me. Problem solved. So what has to happen here is you have to benchmark the job, and you have to hire the right person for the job. And one of the sciences I use in my company, we have profiled 30 million people globally. We profile one person every 7 seconds. So we know what makes it for a successful hire. We know what makes for a bad hire. And
is this the DISC profiling that you're talking about?
DISC is one of the tools that we use. We have about a dozen different ones.
Wow.
And what happens is, once you ask the question, if this job could talk, what would be the right person for this job? And you think through it. See, the highest paid skill in business is thinking. And all mistakes...
That's not business thinking.
Yeah, all mistakes in business come from insufficient
planning.
Some
people just don't think, Mario.
Funny thing it is, like, I apologize. I read recently on LinkedIn, and I see that quote is actually going from person to person. Don't believe everything what you think. And I was like, that doesn't make a sense, you know what I mean, for me.
You have 90,000 thoughts going through your conscious and unconscious mind every single day. And at least 70% of those thoughts are counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve. And in the work of L. Ron Hubbard, what he says is that the organisms, every living thing on this planet, has the same goal, which is to survive. So how do you survive? You avoid danger. So most of the thoughts that we have are counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve. We say, I want to be a self-made millionaire, and then you say, I don't want to make a hiring mistake. I don't want to be late to work. I don't want to offend the customer. And this is part of our Australian culture. G'day, mate, how you doing? Not bad. How's business? Well, I ain't broke yet. How are the kids? They ain't in jail. And this is the counterproductive thinking. So you've got 90,000 thoughts happening in your mind every day. 70% at least are counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve. So you have to get very clear. As we said at the start of the show, you have to determine what you want, and you have to focus on that exclusively. And this is the importance of emotional intelligence. You have to know what you want, and then you have to train yourself to focus on that. And this is what the world's most successful people do. They're single-minded. They focus on one thing. They think about one thing most of the time.
First, I was afraid.
Now you're petrified?
Yeah. Welcome back to the studio. Due to high demand on the voice and the person, Daniel Tolson, we need to have a few more questions to ask. We're coming too close to end of our show, and I wish we had some more hours, but I'll leave it to the Wendy to ask him more questions.
So actually we're out of time, and I mean we've had a great time. Thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing all of your wealth of knowledge with our listeners. I hope that you can take notes later on, and you can certainly follow Daniel, and you can follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. But also Daniel just told me that he's going to share a book with our listeners, so they can download a book.
Absolutely.
How good is that? So if you can go down and get a soft copy of the book, it's called Win Sales Now, and you can Google that, and you can get it under winsales.com.
Go to www.winsalesnow.com.
Win Sales Now. That's it. Got it. So Win Sales Now, Mario.
I'm still interested about airline. How to score the first class.
And Daniel's also on LinkedIn.
Coffee,
so if you want to find him there and ask him any questions as well, and also we'll just share your profile and stuff on our.
So let's go make
media.
a short video with you and Daniel. Where they can find him. And what I can get for freebie. A lot. I'm truly grateful for having you today in the studio, Daniel. It was a truly pleasure, and welcome back, Wendy. That's what it is. You left me last week.
Oh, you can do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everybody who listens to us. Yes?
Yes. So next week,
Wednesday?
Week,
6 p.m. We'll have the Daniel soon. Thank you for listening to us.